Have you dipped your foot into the world of Victorian dressmaking, where the butts are big and the bodices are difficult to fit? They are, aren't they? But fear no more, my friends, because I've figured out the secret. And in this video, I'm going to share all the nitty-gritty details with you so you can achieve that glorious fitted look that you desire in your Victorian clothing. First, let's take a look at our paper pattern and see what adjustments we have to make, also known as the pattern and math stage. This is for all of the little modifications that you make over and over again, pattern by pattern, to accommodate your particular body shape. This can include lengthening or shortening the waist, an FBA or an SBA, truing up pattern sizes to accommodate for needing to cut different sizes in your front or your back. And if you're using a black snail pattern, which we are today, adding 1.5 inches to the waist because they automatically take that out. Now, the pattern author's reason for doing this is to accommodate for the fact that you're corseting down by 1.5 inches. There are a million reasons why this is incorrect and a waste of people's time, not limited to the fact that most people don't corset down 1.5 inches. It depends on your body. I corset down 4 inches right now because my middle section is very squishy. If you have a lot of muscle in your torso, then you probably won't corset down at all. Not only that, but you should be doing your measurements and picking your pattern based on what your measurements are in your supportive garments, which logically means that you've already corseted down to where you need to be. So why is the pattern taking out more space when you really shouldn't be taking out any space? Finally, not every era is corseting down. If you're making something that is like 1830s or earlier, there were no metal grommets. They weren't corseting down because hand-worked eyelets cannot handle the strain of trying to reduce somebody's waist, that they will rip. You need to have metal grommets in order to put that level of tension on your body. Not because you're super squeezed, not because it's an extreme measure, just it's a matter of physics. I will never stop being annoyed by this. Otherwise, black snail patterns are pretty good. This is their one flaw, so we're gonna start with that. Now, normally, if you were going to add 1.5 inches to the waist of this bodice, you would divide that by however many pieces there are, in which case there are 4, and add a little tiny bit to each seam to spread it out evenly. However, my particular body shape is very distinctive. I have an exceptionally narrow back and a much larger front. So instead of spreading it out evenly, I'm going to put it all on the side seam because I need it to be narrower in the back anyway, which means I can do it all during the FBA. Next, I need to tackle the waist. I usually have to subtract from 1.5 to 2 inches from the torso length of every pattern I do because I'm exceptionally short-waisted. This is where the math comes in. Here's the waistline. I'm going to measure from the underarm to the waistline. So that is 7 5/8 minus 5/8, so that is 7 inches. Then I'm going to measure the same distance from the underarm to the waist of my corset. Here is the line where my waist is. You can tell because it's wrinkling here. And I'm going to measure from that point to the top. So that is 6 inches. So I need to subtract a full inch from the waist on all of these. If you don't have a corset to go off of, you really need to go take care of that first. I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm saying this because if you don't have a corset to go off of, you are genuinely going to have a heck of a time trying to get this bodice to fit your body. Unless you happen to have a perfect bust waist hip ratio of +10, 0, +10, in which case, friend, I salute you. Okay, let's fix the waist length. Again, for most people, you change this evenly all the way around. This side piece is only getting shortened by 1 inch. However, if you have a sway back like me, you can accommodate for that in the waist shortening. The back piece is going to be 1.5 inches shorter. Now, our side back seam lines don't match. So on this piece, you would measure from 1.5 inches down to 1 inch and draw a slanted line to true up those seams. Don't forget to even out the grain line. Depending on the pattern, you may need to true up the dart lines on the front as well. Now that's finished, our next step is to do the FBA, or full bust adjustment. Now, I have a very good friend who is a beautiful tailor and excellent historical costumer, and she has told me in the past when I was reaching out for help fitting my Victorian bodice from last year that the Victorians would not have done an SBA or an FBA. They would have just compensated in the center front. However, I tried that last year. I did 3 different Victorian bodices and blouses, and I still was not happy with the way that that worked with my exceptionally full bust. So I'm going to opt to do the FBA. I don't care about historical accuracy. I would much rather it fit me properly than it be exactly what the Victorians would have done. Nobody's gonna walk up to me and look at my Victorian bodice and be like, you did that with an FBA instead of modifying the center front. Nobody's gonna do that. Before we start, a quick addition to the side to accommodate the black snail conundrum. Essentially, what you're doing with an FBA is adding both length and width at the apex of your pattern to accommodate for the extra volume a larger bust requires. With an SBA, you're taking out length and width. This requires slashing and spreading through the darts and moving pieces to certain points based on calculations related to your cup size versus the pattern's cup size. It's quite complicated and deserves its own dedicated video. It's also a skill that requires practice and one that I have not yet mastered. So instead of putting out a video for you, I'd like to direct you to my friend Dixie's video, which I will link to in the description. She knows what she's talking about, does an FBA and an SBA side by side, and demonstrates on different historical patterns as well. It's a great video and a good resource for you when you're ready to tackle your FBA or SBA. Well, that was not easy with that specific kind of bodice, so let's initiate stage 2, the first mock-up stage, and see how badly I bungled my FBA. If you've ever watched one of my corset fitting videos, this may look a little familiar to you. Why? Because Victorian bodices are so hard to fit because they're shaped just like your corset with a small amount of ease. With that in mind, we're approaching this just like we would approach fitting a Victorian corset. This is my favorite coffee mug. I see you!
1 hour later.
That's much better. I took a step away from it and regrouped for a second and then came back and just manually adjusted the darts on my body in front of a mirror until it sort of looked right. I have the side taken in. I'm gonna transfer this over to this side, baste it back up, put it back on, and see where we're at. Oh, and I don't know what the heck is happening with this arm side, but I feel like the curve is all wrong. Here are the redrawn darts. Notice how different they are in both size and angle. Okay, let's transfer them to the other side. There we go. Now it's starting to look good. The back's a bit loose though. Okay, next I feel like I need to deal with the shoulders. I have a theory that this is meant to be lower down, but that is not accommodating for the larger bust. If I had a smaller bust, there would be more room to move down. I don't want to do that because my chemise is right here. I have a harebrained idea. I'm gonna try it. It might be a total failure, but all we can do is try, and if we mess up, we can always redo. Okay. I realized that moving the shoulder straps over was a total mistake. Looking back at the fashion plate, this is actually quite low cut and quite wide. It appears that the straps are just barely on the shoulders. That's okay, we all make mistakes. A lot of sewing is definitely problem solving and backtracking until you figure out the answer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna transfer the small changes that I've made, the darts and the taking in on the side, and readjust the shoulder strap and the neckline using the original pattern before I did the FBA. And let's get that on and see whether that helps or not. As you can see, the angle of the arm side between the OG and my post FBA nightmare are quite different. This is totally user error. Ta-da! Wow, what a difference that made. Like I say in all of my corsetry videos, one little change goes a long way. Now on this side, I went ahead and cut off all of my seam allowances to see what was going on with the strap. I do feel like it is restricting my movement just a little bit on the edge here. So, and I also think that this is very low cut. Doesn't bother me, but it doesn't feel right for the time period. This is better. So I think what I'm gonna do on this side is cut up a little extra in the seam allowance just in the front to see if that gives me a little bit more range of motion on my shoulder. I have very narrow shoulders, so it doesn't surprise me that I'm having issues with this. It's staying up, but it feels like it wants to fall down. I don't think it can. I am getting some resistance when I lift my arms. And as we all know, this is Fantastical Follies, and yes, I do run around with my arms up all of the time. I have not yet shown you the back, because I wasn't really focused on the back. I think it is okay. It could be a little bit tighter, but I think I would like to test it out on the final make. There's going to be more fabric up here when I finish the apron. There's also going to be 2 layers of fabric instead of one very thin sheet, and there's also going to be boning in there, so that might change the way that it fits me. I would rather have to take it in than let it out and run out of fabric. The other thing I'm going to need to adjust is the waistline. As you can see, it's very ridgy, and I'm pretty sure that has to do with the FBA and all of the changes in the dart side that I've made. Trying to navigate in this full kit with all the little lobsters dangling on the bottom in my tiny apartment that has very narrow walkways has been such a pain.
I hate it.
That is much better, although I think I took a little bit too much off right under the arm. So I kind of made a mark where I want to start with the excess. And then that sort of also coincides with the right angle here, so I think that works out well. I'm gonna go ahead and add an extra 5/8 to the neckline to counterbalance the 5/8 of an inch I took off right here on the shoulder. To deal with the waistline, I just tacked on a piece of my old mock-up and just drew the line where I wanted the edge to be, and we'll just cut it off. So let's go ahead and make all of those changes on our paper. If you're finding this video helpful and would like to help support this channel, please consider buying me a coffee over on my page linked below. My amazing supporters are the only reason I'm able to keep making videos like this. Another great way to support is to give this video a big thumbs up and pop down into the comments to say hello. Or you can tell me which era of clothing you have had the hardest time fitting. This one is definitely mine. The final stage of corset fitting is appropriately called the final fitting stage, which is done with the final fabric in your final corset or bodice. So let's base this baby together and see how well we've done. Ooh, sneak peek at the lobster gown. I think it's funny that we haven't actually made this already on the channel, but you're already seeing it. Yay, out of order. I'm pretty happy with this. I went ahead and tucked under all of my edges just to double check to make sure that everything was covered where I wanted it to be, and it is a-okay. It is maybe a little loose in the front, but I'm not gonna worry about that too much. We wanna have a little bit of ease, and we're also gonna have another layer plus boning. However, I think I am gonna take it in just a little bit in the back. I'm gonna spread it out, like take in 1/4 of an inch here and 1/4 of an inch here, and just to get it a little bit tighter against my body. It's okay as it is, but I would like to just accentuate my waist just a little bit more. After all, that's what the Victorians definitely would have done. There, that's much more flush against my back. All right, my friends, I'm gonna go get this kit off. I'm gonna go eat some lunch, and then we're gonna put this thing together. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like the corsets beneath, all the seams and the darts of your Victorian bodice should be boned. This helps to keep the lines smooth. I'm opting to lap the center front and close it with hook and eye tape. This does require some precision and careful hand stitching, but honestly I think it's a heck of a lot faster than sewing all those hooks and eyes by hand. Here we go, a decently fit bodice. I think it fits pretty well. Is it perfect? No, there's a couple of things I'm gonna have to fix. I also find that things don't fit me as well when I put the corset on after 3 p.m., which it is today, so something to keep in mind. I'll do a spin. So I definitely think I will need to, in further iterations of this, take in some more space in the center back. Back up, 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 back up. There we go. I definitely think it's a little loose. Obviously, I still have to hem it. But otherwise, I think it looks really good. It looks a heck of a lot better than the ones I wore last year. And that, my friends, is a true success. And with that last, final, huge hurdle behind us, there's not left but to finish the lobster gown. If you'd like to check out the finished product, you can check out this video here on the screen. Or if you're watching this before that one goes live, you can check out this video where I show you in detail how I fit the corset beneath. Thanks for watching. I love y'all, and I'll catch you in my next video. Y'all, after 1,000 hours, the lobster gown
is almost complete.